budget for the Global Health Council. So the Global Health Council is made up of other core organizations, large NGOs who work in the health sector. And so all of us come together, over 100 plus of us, and we say, okay, let's look at the health account, the global health number, the top line, that's what we call it. Okay, yes, we can advocate for our individual accounts, but if that top line, like Sam stressed, isn't growing, there is going to be very hard to really get the goals that each of our accounts are trying to achieve. Health is something that's intersectional. You cannot have malaria programming without having essential health services. You cannot have all of these siloed programmings, and that's what a lot of the US government agencies as well as our NGOs are learning, that the health system is really crucial, building health systems to understand that. I'll give you guys a quick example. COVID. That's all I have to say. COVID taught us that, especially, I'm going to take it out of the US context because we all experienced it, right, in our own right. But if you look at some of the implementation programming that was being done across the globe, what happened with COVID was that it taught us that we had to pivot these systems. Instead of doing malaria programming or doing measles vaccination, those programs were used to do COVID-19 vaccinations because they were already in the system. People already had access to those hospitals, those clinics, those services, and so it was easy to distribute the vaccine a lot quicker than having to build from the ground up during a pandemic, right? And so you see that a lot of, even PEPFAR is in a lot of countries doing amazing work. PEPFAR program was used as an entry point to be able to distribute COVID vaccines and get shots in arms. And so a lot of the programs are integrated and they complement each other. And so as somebody who oversees the top line, it's important for us to make the case of why global health matters, why funding global health programs matter. Once you make that case, it's easy then for decision makers to understand that, okay, under global health, there are these sub-accounts. And these sub-accounts all fund individual programs, but understanding that, again, different diseases reside in different parts of the world. So you're not gonna necessarily have the same programming, but understanding that global health as a whole is an instrumental part of somebody's lifespan. Sarah touched on the intersection between nutrition and health. It goes into climate. It goes into one of the biggest things as somebody who also advocates for the overall foreign assistance budget is that I can't really talk about health if I'm not talking about nutrition. I can't necessarily talk about nutrition or access when somebody's in a war zone where they don't have access to those foods that I'm naming. And so you have to talk about every single thing, even if you're siloed to your specific programming. And that's why a lot of us come under coalitions like Interaction. We come under coalitions like the Global Health Council to unite as a big front to be able to advocate, because you cannot go alone. You cannot go alone in this space because, again, that 1%, we're all fighting for the pie of the 1%, which is very small, but again, it's at right now, folks are looking at the accounts that, okay, well, if we fund foreign assistance, it's at the expense of something that's domestic, which is not true. We can have one and have the other. And so a lot of us in the health space right now, the health account is proposed to be cut at 11% for the next fiscal year. Plus, okay? And so as we're looking at this, we're saying that, are we really as advocates making the case? If we made the case, are they really understanding our points? They're clearly not, because if they were, we wouldn't have the 11% cut, right? So we have to go back, like Sarah, we're literally having conversations. We had a call this morning. We're literally having conversations about, we have to go back to the drawing board. How are we getting the message across? How are we telling Sam, right? How are we sitting down with her and saying, this is why it all matters? And so she's not, as an appropriator, she's not going, oh, okay, I have to choose between nutrition versus funding global health. I have to choose between, no, it all matters. And then she gets her boss to go on the House floor or the Senate floor, to talk and say, this actually matters. We need to fund foreign assistance. We need those champions. We need those champions in all the sectors. And so, again, going back to, or ending my point, all of it is intersectional. You cannot advocate for health without advocating for the entire foreign assistance budget. What we are prioritizing right now is how do we make the case for that top line. You cannot fund sub-accounts without funding the top line. Once you're able to fund the top line, it trickles down.